I'll say the shloka 4.27. सर्वानिन्द्रियान् कर्माणि प्राणाकर्माणि चापरे आत्मा संयम योगाग्नौ जुह्वति ज्ञानदीपिते. Translation: Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as oblations into the fire of the controlled mind. So looks like uh, here there is some emphasis, indication that there is controlled mind also has can be treated or is like a fire, and their oblations can be made, which is mentioned here. What you can offer to the mind, um, and that is you're doing it for self-realization. We'll take the other one. 10.2 4.28. द्रव्ययज्ञस्तपो यज्ञ योगयज्ञस्तथा परे स्वाध्यायज्ञानयज्ञश्च यतः यतयः संशितव्रतः. Translation: Having accepted strict vows, some become enlightened by sacrificing their possessions, and others by performing severe austerities, by practicing the yoga of eightfold mysticism, or by studying the Vedas to advance in transcendental knowledge. So the chapter is transcendental knowledge, and here in this one, we discussed previous one, Patanjali Yoga system. Um, so it looks like no matter what yoga system you adopt, you have to take some vows. It's not something somebody forces on you. It's something you willingly um, execute in order to achieve or progress in that yoga system. So here, whether it is Patanjali yoga system or Bhakti yoga or um, any kind of yoga, yoga means uniting, connecting with the Lord. So all yogas should, in one way or another, help us achieve that goal. So that means we cannot be casual in any yoga practice. So let's get into detail. Um, okay. So, what Prabhupada says here, when one is enlightened in jnana, that is jnana dipite, the light of knowledge is awakened, then Atma Samyama Yoga now, controlling the senses and offering in the fire of yoga, fire of mind, fire of yoga. So, so here Patanjali yoga system is being explained in this purport that controlling the inner different um, different 5 kinds of vayus: prana, apana, samana, udana, vyana. But here Prabhupada says that this is a mechanical system. Although this is also approved, it helps in controlling the senses. But Prabhupada shares detail about Bhakti Yoga system. There is another process, Bhakti Yoga system, that is about not only controlling the senses, but also giving the right engagement to the senses. When it comes to controlling the mind, Prabhupada gives an example that mind is just like a child. Sometimes it accepts something and sometimes it rejects something. That is, it you experience sankalpa vikalpa. You go say, okay, I'll go it. I'll make a determination, sankalpa. I'll go it with this, and then you change your mind, vikalpa. Oh no, not like that. So always there is this duality you experience, accepting something, rejecting something. So it is very difficult to artificially or mechanically control the mind. Now, Arjuna, when he was asked to control the mind, he also said, in Shloka 6.34, Chanchalam hi manha Krishna pramati balavad dridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayor ivasu dushkaram. I do not think mind can be controlled. It is very difficult, as difficult it is to control the breeze or wind. It is not possible to control the strong wind which is blowing. So artificially, by controlling the breathing system, it also is a process, but it is difficult. So there are Prabhupada shares, that there are many instances mentioned in the scriptures, who there were great sages, um, and who were following this Ashtanga yoga or other yoga system, um, but they also face challenge. Whatever is mentioned is actually teach us that superiority of Bhakti yoga system. And then later they also took to Bhakti Yoga system. They accepted that, um, Vishnu service or devotional service directly to Vishnu or Krishna is the best. So, Prabhupada mentions names of Vishwamitra and Shauvari Rishi. Um, but our process, as stated here, Atma Samyama Yoga Gnav Samyama controls. The mind is the principal sense. So it is like intrinsic sense or sense above other senses. The Gyan Indriyas and Karm Indriyas, and above that is mind, which is like a superior sense, the sense which controls the other 10 senses. Um, so Indriyani Parani Ahur Indriyebhya Param Manaha. Srimad Bhagavad Gita 3.42. Mind is the central figure of all the senses. Prabhupada says that a disturbed or mad man cannot work properly because he cannot fix up his mind on anything. So our process is that we cannot control the mind, right? But if we engage the same mind on the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, then everything is controlled because then Krishna will help. So if some way or another, if one is able to engage his mind at his or her mind at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, Save Mana Krishna Padaravindayo, Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.18, then gradually everything will be controlled. And there is another scriptures very much emphasized in like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.234, Sevan Mukhe hi Jiva Dau, to control the Jiva, tongue, Jiva, tongue, controlling the tongue. It is very difficult to control the Jiva. Everyone becomes a servant of the senses just because they are not able to control their tongue. So it all begins with the tongue. They cannot control the tongue, and because of that, they eat anything and everything, and because of this, they cannot control other senses. Therefore, the yoga practice, there are, this Ashtanga yoga also has yama and niyama as part of the eight limbs. So you have to have some control, abstinence. You have to abstain from certain things and accept other things like that. So rejecting and accepting. So in yoga practice also it is forbidden not to allow the tongue to eat anything and everything. Similarly, in Bhakti Yoga or in Gaudiya Parampara or ISKCON, Prabhupada says that devotees are informed or taught not to allow your tongue to touch anything except Krishna Prasadam. Tongue has two purposes or businesses, right? One is eating, tasting something, another is vibrating sound. You would, with tongue, you would want to eat something and you would like want to talk something. Very difficult to stay quiet sometimes when you meet your friends or like that. There's always some gossip or mundane talk. So if we can control the tongue not to touch anything which is not offered to Krishna, and if we do not allow the tongue to talk anything except Krishna, glorifying Krishna or glorifying his name or chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then simply by practicing these two things, Prabhupada says that you become the greatest yogi. So it looks like it's easy, but if you achieve this, then you become a greatest of yogi. And this is something Prabhupada is saying. So just as in our Guru Parampara, if you see the altar in any temple or at your home also, if you have this Guru Parampara, you will see that one of the personalities there is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura. A great personality, a grahastha, a very practical and experienced personality, and he says that Krishna Bhara Doya Moy Kori Bara Jiva Joy. Prasad Ana Dilo Bhai. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written so many songs glorifying um, lordships, and he has translated so many scriptures, so many books he has written, compiled. Um, he is father of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. So this material body is a network of Sharira Abhidya Jal. Sharira Avidya Jal. This material body is a network of ignorance, right? This body is the network of ignorance, simply sense gratification. That is, I shall eat this, I shall hear this, and so many of these demands by the senses. The ear is engaged in hearing about, nice cinema songs, and the tongue is engaged in going to various restaurants, eateries, places of various eateries, right? And so many other palatable dishes. So just like a network, Prabhupada says that just imagine if you are put into a net and bound up and thrown into an ocean, then what is your condition of life? Similarly, although we, the pure spirit soul, but we have been put into this network of material body, by Maya, this illusory potency of Lord. She has given us a body, material body, and it's like a network of material body. We are thrown into this ocean of niscience, ignorance, illusion, and this is our position. And hence, there, what we are experiencing now is struggle for existence in this material world. So, how to get out of this illusory network? How to get out of this material ocean? So, according to Bhakti Yoga system, the first control is recommended is the control of the tongue. अतः श्री कृष्ण नामादि न भवेद ग्राह्यम इंद्रिय श्री चैतन्य चरितमृता मध्य लीला 17.136. Now we receive knowledge through the indriyas, our senses. Now, if the indriyas, the senses themselves are impure, that is, they have been engaged in material sense gratification, no control, and they cannot understand what is Krishna. They cannot help us in understanding what is Krishna. Krishna is all pure and spiritual. So, Atah Shri Krishna Namadi, because beginning is Shravanam. Bhakti Marga, this path of Bhakti Yoga, begins by hearing. Now, what is Shravanam? If there is chanting or there is some speaking, then we can hear. And this is recommended by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his Lord Sri Krishna himself. That's simply hear. But it is said, Atah Shri Krishna Namadi na bhavit grahayam indriye. These present blunt senses of ours, these material senses, cannot receive even this chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. What to talk of the name, form, pastime, spiritual abodes, etc. Activities of Lord. It cannot even understand this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends Kirtaniya Sadahari in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 17.31. He says that this is instruction of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Trina dapi sunijena tarorapi sahisnuna. Tarorapi sahisnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. And this is recommended by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That he is talking about glorifying the holy name of Lord Hari. Hari means Lord Sri Krishna. A devotee is hearing, he is enjoying, and that non-devotee is thinking it is nuisance. So this is how it is. This is because of senses being still material or impure. Once the senses are spiritualized, then you can, you know, take to this holy name and glorify the Lord's name, fame, form, past and spiritual bones of the Lord, etc. But it all begins with hearing. So, how to understand Krishna if these senses are materially contaminated? They cannot hear the Krishna's holy name. So you have to first. It is recommended seven mukhi jiva dhau. You have to engage your tongue first of all in the service of the Lord. Then the Krishna realization begins after this. So, so Prabhupada says that we should make a vow that I shall not accept anything that is not offered to Lord Shri Krishna. And another vow we should do is take I shall not talk anything except glorifying the Lord. Then we become perfect. We achieve this perfection. Where Prabhupada says that you become greatest of the yogis, like that. So this is very simple method, but you have to make this determination. Prasadam and glorifying, chanting the holy name of the Lord. So, so otherwise we will remain servant of the senses. And this is how the whole material world is running. Everyone is acting as a servant of his senses. So, but when becomes intelligent, then he understands, what am I doing here? I'm thinking that I'm a master, I'm a proprietor, but I'm not a proprietor or I'm not a master. But I am doing, what exactly am I doing? I'm acting as servant of my senses. My son's senses, my wife's senses, my daughter's senses, my servant's senses. That's all. What to speak of others? If the servant, if you speak to with him or her in a wrong manner, the servant will also resign, and then you are in trouble. Then because you are no longer used to do all these activities on your own, then you end up doing all these things on your own, and then you are not able to engage in other things, so like that. So therefore you have to serve his senses also, so that he may not be angry. And this is our position. We are not master, we are actually servants of our senses. So jnana dipite, when you actually come to this sense of your knowledge, then you come to this conclusion, where is this, what am I doing, what am I, where is my mastership? I am simply serving my different senses. So, what is the taste of this knowledge? Once you get this knowledge, it's mentioned Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, 7.19 shloka of Bhagavad Gita. After many, many births, spoiling so many lifetimes, spoiling so much of time, wasting so much of time by satisfying the senses, you come to this realization. So, when one becomes intelligent, enlightened, he offers himself to Lord Shri Krishna. He surrenders to Lord Shri Krishna. Um, So this is how it is. We are satisfying our senses either directly or indirectly. Expanded senses, the senses of our family, extended family, senses of society, senses of your country, nationality. These are all sense gratification processes. Simply extending. It became centralized as my senses, then my son's senses, my grandson's senses, and my country's senses. It is sense gratification. That's all. So we have to surrender to Lord. And we can do this when we have this knowledge, when we become enlightened about this thing. Um, so this Patanjali yoga system is artificially stopping the activities of the senses. And but that will not be very successful because the senses are so strong. And as soon as it gets an opportunity, it will act immediately otherwise. So then again, ground zero, start again. So like that. So therefore, we have to engage our senses in the service of the supreme senses. That is supreme person. That is the perfection of life. Um, uh, Krishna is also known as Rishikesha, um, master of the senses. So we should engage our senses in the master of the senses himself. So beginning is that first tongue we have to control by eating Krishna prasadam and glorifying the Lord or chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is very important. Then we achieve to when we proceed towards achieving perfection. So other thing is in this which was mentioned is so many of sacrifices were mentioned by charity, sacrificing our possessions for the benefit of others. It's also yagya, sacrifice. But Prabhupada says this is karma kanda yagya, fruitive activities. But this only elevates our material position. But if the same thing, same sacrifice is dovetailed in consciousness or in Krishna consciousness, then that it becomes perfect. Um, so, for example, distributing food in Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada says that we are also distributing food, but this is through Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. So, if we simply act piously, that is good, but it is not perfect. Um, so, what was mentioned just now is Srila Rupa Goswami, he mentions it in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The shloka, what is actually required is Yukta Vairagya. So we are in this material world and we have to act. We cannot cease acting. Therefore, if actions are performed and the fruits are given to Krishna, then it is called Yukta Vairagya. Actually situated in renunciation, such activities clear the mirror of the mind And as the actor gradually makes progress in spiritual realization, he becomes completely surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, at the end, he becomes liberated, and this liberation is also, specified. He says that by this liberation, he does not become one with the Brahma Jyotir, but rather enters into the planet of the Supreme Lord. Um, Mam Upashyasi. He comes to me, back home, back to Godhead. That Krishna is guaranteeing. Um, so, so it has to be Yukta Vairagya, very important. Otherwise, waste of time and energy. So, this acting piously, that is good, but it is not perfect. So, Srila Narottam Das Thakura says that um, karma, karma kanda, jnana kanda, sakale vishera bhanda. So, karma kanda, vichara, fruitive activities of getting better position of life, better body, but all this, etc., all this, though I get my birth in a good family, good education, etc., there is a risk of degradation, right? So this is all because of our pious activities we perform in a previous life, and you get all this. But if you are in such a um, but if you get with in spite of all these opulence and all these good things, if you associate with a bad company in your present life, then again there is a risk of degradation, right? It is you'll end up wasting whatever you got by not engaging in Krishna consciousness. So, therefore, in the Vaishnava philosophy, um, it's not they don't approve even pious activities. What to talk of impious activities? Um, they simply say after they simply encouraging Krishna consciousness, service of Krishna. That is the real yajna. And Prabhupada says that engaging in devotional service. Devotional service, Prabhupada emphasizes to hear about Krishna. That is devotional service. And pure devotional service means Shravanam Kirtanam. Srimad Bhagavatam says 7.5.23 about Shravanam Kirtanam. And that is so, the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. They were involved in chanting the holy names of the Lord, Mahamantra, and dancing in ecstasy and so, so we follow in our footsteps of our acharyas, these Goswamis, and therefore we have this chanting and dancing as a very um, prime of great prime significance. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did that. And it is mentioned in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So dancing, chanting of the holy name, and dancing in ecstasy. That is also yajna, sacrifice, and it is the most perfectional yajna. And it's Sankirtan yajna because you are engaged in performing this yajna along with other people. Um, so this is better than the other yajnas like Dravya yajna, charity, etc. Um, so Prabhupada says that if somebody doesn't have money, but he can still execute or perform this yajna, Sankirtan yajna, no matter where he is. There is no need of money for this. So, so this Sankirtan yajna is so nice, it cannot be checked by any material condition. Um, so you can perform this as part of the Bhakti Yoga system in any condition of life. So that is how it is. Comes free, you can do it anytime, anywhere, not depend on material condition of life. So practicing thinking of always thinking of Krishna. This is the simplest of process, right? Um, you can still offer your mind by thinking of Krishna. Um, so that is how it is. Um, so Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedic literatures. So you can take to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is again, this will be a great sacrifice, yajna. Um, So it is stated Nigama Kalpa Taror Galitam Phalam Idam Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.3. Nigama means Vedic literature, Kalpataru means desire tree. Um, so Prabhupada gives an analogy that we know we have experience of this mango tree. It gives mango, and from coconut tree we get coconut. But this desire tree means whatever you want, you can get. So Prabhupada makes he gives detail that you can even get puris and halwas from this desire tree. So this desire tree, so desire tree is in the spiritual abode of the Lord. No matter what you ask, it will give you. But here is Srimad Bhagavatam is the, like desire tree, and it is one of the you can hearing is one of the greatest of yagyas, um, a very crucial prime yagya. So you can take to hearing, and of all you can hear to take to Srimad Bhagavatam. Um, and achieve success, achieve perfection. So it's like a desire tree. So um, that is how it is. So, so, so we take directions from Vedas or our scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam, and then we become gradually we become spiritual, and then we take to liberation. And this is the process, and this is the bhakti yoga or devotional service. Um, that is how it is. So, so it all begins with this, and then you have this Shraddha, and you hear about the Lord. Then you have Shraddha, faith in the Lord, and you have this Navvida Bhakti or 9 steps. You progress in Bhakti Yoga, and then the final is perfection or Prema Bhakti. After Bhava Bhakti, Prema Bhakti, and Krishna Prema Bhakti, and then um, all perfection, and then one goes back home, back to Godhead. So we can take to these instructions of our acharyas and make our life successful. So of all the yoga systems, we will find that Bhakti Yoga is the topmost, especially in Kali Yuga, and glorifying hearing and chanting and hearing about Srimad Bhagavatam. We get the directions from the scriptures, which are all perfect, and so that is how it is. We take directions from the scriptures. Guru, who is giving us the direction how to go about in this material world and use our senses and mind in the service of the Lord and achieve perfection. So thank you, Prabhuji Mataji. Thanks for joining. Please join again tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. If anybody has any questions, please ask before we log off. Hare Krishna.